So I always got asked, like, when it comes to insurance, specifically medical card or health insurance or medical insurance, can a foreigner, and in this context is that can a non-Malaysian actually buy a medical card or medical insurance in Malaysia? What are the criteria? What's the catch? What's the requirement? So in this video, I'm going to answer all that. Now, taking into account what I'm going to show you here. Now, when it comes to what we call as a foreigner in Malaysian context, there are few criteria that needs to be fulfilled before you can, insurance company consider to even accept your application. So that's number one. And if you are a foreigner, you are watching this, you are not a Malaysian, you are working here or staying here or whatnot, what are the criteria that you need to fulfill before you even submit a new medical insurance application, and what are the conditions or the criteria that is needed to do that? So in this video, I'm going to actually explain all that. Now this is taking into consideration actually a sheet by this PDF file that I'm showing you over here by an insurance company, what we call an underwriting guideline on foreign applicants. Now this is only for one insurance company. Now I know that the criteria would differ a bit between insurers, but generally this would be it. This would be your general guideline to buying a medical insurance or a medical card in Malaysia as a foreigner or as a non-Malaysian. So let's get right into this. Now, number one, what we term as a foreigner, except Singaporean and Bruneian. Now, the thing is, because Singapore and someone from Singapore or Singapore nationality and Brunei nationality, they are just so close to Malaysia, so they do not really consider, if you are Singaporean, they don't really consider you as a foreigner. But there's still certain criteria you need to fulfill. Now, as a foreigner, now this category applies to a foreigner which is not from Singapore, not from Brunei. And what are the status to be considered? If you are working in Malaysia, if you are studying in Malaysia, and if you have a business registered in Malaysia, then yes, you can actually purchase and get a medical card or medical insurance for yourself. So as you can, the decision here is accept, but with a criteria to say class 1 and 2 only. Now normally that is what we call as a white collar worker, professional worker. Class 3 and 4 would be more like, you could be a professional, but it is more like higher risk kind of job. Like for example, if you're going offshore, you are in oil and gas industry, you're going offshore on oil rig, that would be class 3 and 4. Or if you are working in a job whereby you have to climb all those high tension cables, now that would not fall until class 1 and 2. So they will accept that. And class 3 and 4 occupation, like I said, subject to individual review. You can still apply, but there's no guarantee that depending on what are the nature of the job, there's no guarantee they will actually accept you. So as you can see over here, you can actually buy, what are the things that you can buy, right? You can buy a death or TBD coverage, you can buy critical illness coverage, you can buy personal accidents, and I black out this is because this reflects the name of the medical card or medical insurance product, which I want to grade it out because I'm not promoting any insurance company product over here. But this is what it means, like a medical plan. So you can, right? You can. Now these are the excluded plan. For example, you cannot buy a waiver of premium rider, and you cannot buy something like accidental weekly indemnity and all that. So you cannot buy. So what this summarizes is that generally whatever things that give you cash value, they say that you cannot buy, at least for this insurance, right? It's similar for other insurance as well. So in other words, what you can buy is only pure protection, right? Medical, death, TBD coverage, and critical illness. So what the document require, you need to be having a valid passport, a valid working permit, or student pass. And if you're doing business, your business should be your subsidiary or whatnot should be incorporated in Malaysia, which is why you say the copy of business ownership, like normally it will be by a Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia, or what we call as a Companies Commission of Malaysia, CCM or SSM. And then you have to fill out another what we call a foreign applicant questionnaire. So there will be a additional questionnaire during application that you need to fill up. So normally it inquires like why you are in Malaysia, what's the job of nature, what's your job nature and all that. And disclaimer on foreign applicant limited coverage for so and things like that. Now this applicant's spouse and children is also entitled. You can actually also buy certain insurance or the insurance product or protection in Malaysia. Now, bear in mind that they must be if the other spouse that is having the business working in Malaysia, studying in Malaysia. If you have a spouse, children, they must be residing in Malaysia in order for you for the spouse and the children of this foreigner who is working or studying in Malaysia to actually be eligible to actually buy this kind of protection like life, TBD, critical illness and all that, right? So again, this copy of valid passport, dependent pass, foreign applicant questionnaire and all that is normally required. Now, how about number 2, right? Category number 2 is that if you are a foreigner, you are a foreigner married to a Malaysian. So your spouse is actually Malaysian, but you are not. You are of different non-Malaysian nationality. So what happened is that you must be residing in Malaysia. And basically, if that is so, because your other half is a Malaysian, so that if you're married to your other half who have a Malaysian, so the kind of plans or kind of protection you can buy is not so restrictive. It's open. That's why it's normally all plans and riders. So it's accept, and you need to furnish this kind of documents in addition to that, you have to have this marriage certificate, right? And if you are married to a Malaysian but you are not residing in Malaysia, then you actually cannot buy. If you just come here Malaysia for social visit, you cannot get a medical insurance or medical card in Malaysia. So that is the criteria. Now in this section, it will be specifically for someone who are from Singapore or Brunei nationality. If you are working or residing in Malaysia or with properties of business interest in Malaysia, then the verdict is that your application will be accepted. You can apply, you can buy, you can purchase a medical card, medical plan, but not only limited to that, you can actually buy or normally buy all plans or riders in any like a medical plan, right? Or your insurance policy. So again, you need to have a valid working permit. If you are residing with properties in Malaysia, you can actually copy a quick rent utility bill to prove that you own a property in Malaysia and with a Malaysian address. Let me scroll this a bit. And all that document proof of the copy of business ownership and all that, right? And all plans and rider. If you even if you are a Singaporean or you are from Brunei, if you are not working or residing in Malaysia or without any properties or business interest in Malaysia, you only come from Malaysia to visit your relative, your spouse. But if you think that you stay relatively longer period of time, for example, you normally stay like 2 months, okay, or even if you stay 6 months, but you split it between 2 months, 2 months, 2 months in 1 year, so you might think that perhaps it makes sense for me to buy. But the thing is, you are not working, okay? You are not working. Yes, you might be residing in Malaysia, but normally if you go on a social visit, that does not qualify. And if you also did not have any property or did not have any business interest in Malaysia, then you actually cannot buy or purchase any medical insurance or medical card, right? So moving on to another category is Malaysian permanent resident. So PR, if you are working or residing in Malaysia, you can accept, the verdict is accept your medical insurance or medical card application. Not only that, you can also buy any other plans like life, TBD and all that, or even savings plan, although I don't recommend it for any reasons. Now, you want to actually know why, you have to check out some of this which actually pops up, so you can actually go to that and understand why, watch that lesson. Now, of course, the only thing is that you only need to furnish a copy of your MyPR, a document to say that you are a Malaysian permanent resident. But if you already have a Malaysian PR status but you're not working or residing in Malaysia, the verdict is decline, right? And if you're a Malaysian temporary resident, you are working or residing in Malaysia, now the verdict is accept. There's some exclusion on the plans, but generally you can buy pure protection plan, including medical card, right? Including medical card. Now, moving on, if you are again not working or residing in Malaysia, it's declined. The value is declined. So generally, I would say that if you are not someone that is working or residing in Malaysia, even though you are married to a Malaysian, even if you are a PR, normally there is actually no reason for you to buy a medical card, which is why it says the decline, because again, there's no reason for you to buy one anyway, okay, unless you want to throw some money away, but the thing is, it doesn't really make sense. Now, last category is, this is also a popular category, and probably this is where one of the situation most of you will be in, like Malaysian My Second Home. Now, Malaysian My Second Home is a program whereby you can be from UK, Australia, or any country, and you want to retire in Malaysia. Now, there is certain financial requirement and all that to actually qualify to get this, what we call as a 10 years 10 years visa to actually stay in Malaysia without any restriction. You can go back to your country, come back and all that. So Malaysian My Second Home, if you're a Malaysian My Second Home applicant, now the thing is, if you are Malaysian and My Second Home applicant, you don't have to apply for this medical card or medical insurance first, because you need to apply for Malaysian My Second Home first, and then after you get what we call as a conditional approval. Okay, conditional approval is that your application for a Malaysian My Second Home is basically approved, but there are certain criteria you need to fulfill. One of it is by having proof that you have bought and purchased a medical card or medical insurance, and that is where this comes into place. So general verdict is accept class 1 and 2 occupation only. You can buy all what we call as all the protection plan, but not any plan, normally not only plan like waiver of premium or anything with cash. Copy of valid passport, copy of MM2H visa, MM2 approval from immigration. The conditional letter of approval was okay. So that is generally it. Now, do not confuse with people. Okay, before I say that, actually I should say that the reason they have this underwriting guideline in place is to say that they don't want agents to missell people who are just here for a social visit, and for whatever reason, due to any mis-selling, and missell those people who are non-Malaysian, stay here for, let's say, 2 months as a temporary visit to actually buy a medical insurance, because that is really what we call as a mis-selling. Like I said, this is also to prevent. Now, we have questions, we have inquiries about people who are basically Singaporean, and because they know that if they were to buy a medical card or medical insurance in Malaysia, it's cheaper and it doesn't really cost them much to actually cross over to the bridge, to the Selat Seberang, and come to Johor to, let's say, seek medical treatment, which is, as you know, that the medical treatment in Malaysia is kind of world class, and they don't want that. That's why there is so many criteria that if you are not working or residing in Malaysia, so therefore you cannot buy. So if you are a Singaporean thinking that you want to buy a Malaysian medical card because it costs you cheaper than to buy it in Singapore, but the fact is you do not reside, you do not have an address, you do not have a business ownership or stake in Malaysia, basically you are not allowed to buy. Okay, that's number one. Now, I also have people Malaysian who are working in Singapore, and they say, how does that work? So if I buy a Malaysian, most of the time they're working, residing in Singapore, but there's a Malaysian, so how does that work, right? And you know that there are certain medical card product that can cover you in Singapore, right, without any referral. They mean that they will cover you in Singapore, all those medical expenses in Singapore in Sing dollar. And normally Malaysian medical card only cover all the medical procedure in Malaysian ringgit, but there are certain medical card that cover Malaysian, that Malaysian can buy, and then they actually working in Singapore and whatnot. And then if not working in Singapore, if they happen to be admitted in Singapore or whatnot, then you know that they would reimburse them based on the cost in of that procedure in Sing dollar, as a Singapore, what is common customary rate for that kind of medical procedure in Singapore. Now, this kind of high-end product, high-end medical card or medical insurance is not common, but the caveat is, as a Malaysian, if you are working residing in Singapore, the thing is you cannot buy this kind of medical card, because if that is the case, you should buy a medical card from a Singapore insurance company instead, because you only like, you know, you are most of the time you are there. So if you buy a Malaysian medical card and you think you can actually save a lot of money, because that Malaysian medical card cover for any medical expenses in Singapore in Sing dollar, but they already disqualify you upfront by saying that you actually, if what is the nature of your job, if you are residing working in Singapore, then this medical card would not provide coverage. So this kind of high-end medical card, although it provides you coverage from Singapore hospital or Singapore medical rate for all those surgical procedure and whatnot, but one of the criteria is that you should not be residing or working in Singapore. I mean, it will cover you in case you're in Singapore for a short business trip and you admitted to a Singapore hospital, and normal medical card will only reimburse you based on the similar procedure in Malaysian ringgit but not in Singapore dollar. But this high-end medical card, which you can get in Malaysia, actually reimburse you in Sing dollar if you are admitted to Singapore hospital during your business trip. But not, the criteria I say is not because you are actually long-term residing or working there. Now, before we wrap for this this lesson, just want to actually see what are the footnotes over here, which I can actually zoom in. And then one of the criteria is that if you are foreigner, you apply for a medical card in Malaysia, a Malaysian medical card. The proposal form must be signed in Malaysia and shall have a Malaysian residential and corresponding address. Okay, which is why it's so important for you to be residing, working in Malaysia, because it should have a Malaysian address. Now, preferred risks are those professional, highly technical skill and businessmen. Those in blue-collar industry will not be accepted. Now, it's very clear, right? That's why in occupation 3 and 4, occupation 3 and 4, I mean, if you are a labor, let's say if you're a construction worker from Bangladesh, so sorry for that, I'm just giving as an example, then you know there's a blue-collar and you're in construction, okay? And it's a hard labor, it's blue-collar, so you will not get accepted. But you could be in occupation class 3 and 4, and you could be a professional engineer, but because the nature of your job that need to travel offshore for those oil rigs, you know, for advisory and whatnot, then that kind of class 3 and class 4 normally is accepted with a loading, a higher premium, right? And medical exam, it says they require for all first-time foreign applicants, except for Singaporean, Brunei, and foreigner holding a PR status. So they need you to do all this, right, to undergo medical exam, and all that. So under, okay, okay, applicant at the country of war, for example, Syria, political unrest or unstable economy might not be considered. They must consider persistency bonus. Okay, the last part, what it says that persistency bonus, for example, you see that there is a rule to say that in the first 2 years, if that insurance agent or whatnot, and if they sell, you know, the policy under them was surrendered by a customer, that actually impacts the performance. I mean, impact their bonus, and even, you know, when it comes to this Bank Negara new rules, when it comes to this balance scorecard, it might even have some of their penalty in terms of their commission, their revenue is paid to them. So I would say that if agents or whatnot, intermediary, will be very kind of reluctant to sell any products to anyone, even though if you are Malaysian PR, even though you are temporary working in Malaysia, like for example, you know, Malaysian temporary residents can also working and residing in Malaysia is also can buy. But the thing is whether if you foresee that within 2 years you're going to return to your home country, right? And if, of course, when you return to your home country, you're going to cancel and not pay for the insurance policy anymore, be it medical card and whatnot. So when that happens, the intermediary or the agent performance might get affected as well. They might get penalized because on paper, because there's a rule saying that within the 2 years, if, you know, customers stop paying or surrender a policy, then the agent will be kind of penalized, but, you know, on a financial sense. So that makes it selling, or if you're a foreigner getting this kind of product from what, because, you know, if you are not sure you'll be here for long, and basically it's not worth that this kind of transaction for a lot of agents to actually provide this to you, because if you decide to cancel that when you due to unforeseen circumstances, you go back to your home country and then you're not paying that anymore, so the agent or the intermediary might get penalized unnecessarily. But it's not because your fault or anyone's fault, right? Not because he missell you anything. It's just the fact that you have to go back. If you're a foreigner, you have to go back to your home country now. So that's the complication, right, with that. So again, if you were to ask us, I would say that we actually evaluate, even if you come to us, we are an independent advisory, independent broker, and we will actually evaluate you based on what's the nature of your job and how long you expect to stay. If it's you're just going to stay for less than 2 years, that's likely, and then sorry, we are not going to provide you to you. Maybe you want to find somebody else. Although on underwriting standpoint, you can afford to actually buy, right, medical card for foreigner. No, so I hope this actually give you a perspective of how it works. Like the core question that I have always is, can a foreigner buy a medical card or medical insurance in Malaysia? Hope this covers a lot of grounds for you. So for more lessons, videos or whatnot on comparing the best medical card, now this is just a first step, right? After you have gone to that you are not eligible to qualify to buy a medical card in Malaysia, the next step is to choose the best one, like the most value for money, worth your money, and all the best bang for your buck, or whatever you want to call it. So that being said, we might be able to help with that if you have that kind of request or concern. Now just or you can just in the description box below, you head over to where you can actually schedule a call or whatnot. And if you aren't, then just keep on watching, and there will be 2 videos that is popping up, lessons that you can watch next regarding medical card in Malaysia. This is CF Liu from CF Liu channel, and I will see you in the next lesson. Okay, hope that has been useful. Ciao, you take care, and have a good day. And don't forget to actually click on the notification bell, click on subscribe. And if you have any question, just post your questions. Let me know in the comments box below. Leave your comments. So yep, that's all I have for this lesson. This is CF Liu.